Jarvis. I am on the board of the HOA. We also have Millie Sandberg here and Teresa. This event is not sponsored by the board, but Raul, I'll let you take it away. Raul came to our board meeting last month and talked to us about this project and would like to get the word out in the community. So Raul, thank you very much for bringing it to our attention.
You're welcome.
And you can talk to us a little bit about how you involved and introduce our guest speakers.
Sure.
Raul, would you want to get, I mean, we have the Facebook page, right? But do we want to get email addresses and contact information of those?
That would be a great idea. That way we can
Okay.
spread information that we need to.
Okay, clear.
My name is Raul Perez. I am a community member here for Augustine. I've been here since 2021, so I'm like fairly new here. So I'm 5 years. Me and my wife and our 2 children moved here from Prince William County. Spent 7 years in Prince William prior to moving into Stafford County. So I have kids that go to school in the area, so this is very concerning for me because these lines are run right through these schools, Ronnie Thompson and Mountain View. So it means a lot to me, and it means probably a lot to family members that have young children here that plan to grow here. So I hope you guys take something back, and we can all join together and try to see what we can do to fight this, right? I'd like to thank you guys for tolerant concerns for coming. So without further ado, I'll let you come back and speak to it. All right, thank you.
Got the tech support here. So I'm Jenny Smith. I'm the executive director at Towering Concerns, which means basically I just am an assistant like everybody else. We're all just community members here in Stafford County that have banded together to try to notify the community about what's happening relative to these power lines that are coming through. And then hopefully we will also represent ourselves at the SEC. If the Kraken is filed, we hope to represent Stafford County, well not Stafford County, but we hope to represent citizens and our interests at the SEC level. So I know that your interest in the Kraken here in, sorry, I've never used a remote before. So
That's not good. I think that's just.
should I just match the space bar, right? Okay. So I'll just give you a little bit of a brief overview. So Dominion Energy is in pre-submission activities, so it has not gone to the SEC yet. Related to the Kraken, we call it the Kraken. That was the original name of it. There's a substation down in Lake Anna named the Kraken, which is an absurd and ridiculous name. So of course our first slogan was "Kill the Kraken," right? The Kraken. It's now called the North Anna Bristers line, which is consisting of a 230 kilovolt line and a 500 kilovolt line. This is a 77-mile, 120-foot wide corridor that will be clear cut, going from Lake Anna all the way up into Fauquier County. Through Stafford County, it goes the entirety north and south, and almost the entirety east and west of Stafford County. Now, the most concerning part in Stafford County is the east-west portion of the line. That's called segments 5 and 6. Segment 5 is where the original 2008 project was buried. If you're familiar, there's undergrounded lines up there. That's segment 5. Segment 6 is the now empty corridor that goes from Mountain View High School across the county and through Poplar Estates, Hunter's Pond, Seven Lakes, My Farm, Park Farm, a little nub of Hampstead Estates, and then some smaller homes out there. And we'll connect, the goal is to connect these 2 ultra corridors of electricity that run north-south in Virginia with a little ladder line. We're the little ladder line, right? So the Stafford portion of the Kraken abuts or crosses over 865 homes in Stafford County. So when I say abut, I mean that their easement touches the where the easement is for the Kraken, or the Kraken passes into their yards. 865 homes affected in that way. It's going to cross over the property of 3 schools and a planned school here in Stafford County. It's going to go across the Austin Ridge Park and across the Shelton Woods tot lot. So just before we get started, I'll address some of the myths about the Kraken. The number one myth we hear is that Dominion has the easements and so there's nothing we can do. Okay. Towering concerns beat Dominion before. We got the lines undergrounded in segment 5 back in 2008. We expect that we can fight them again. We did it before, we'll do it again. They underestimated us almost 20 years ago, and we think that they're underestimating us again. So our goals are here, of course, as an organization, we want to educate the public, but our motivation is that we would like to stop the Kraken or have them move the line. If it can't be stopped, can they move it? And our primary suggestion there is move it to Quantico, right? Take it up to the very south side of Quantico, nibble off 300 feet, give Dominion whatever they want to do up there at Quantico, and affect Stafford 0%, okay? Because they already stole Quantico from us back also in the 60s, right? So that seems like some fairness right there. If Quantico gave us 300 feet back on the fence line to save Stafford again now in the present. So that's a goal we're trying to, an angle we're trying to work. And then the next goal would be undergrounding. And that's the primary mission that the county is taking on right now is undergrounding. The county has hired an attorney who has made some suggestions for them. The primary suggestion there is that they're making changes to the comprehensive plan to define that little ladder portion that I just described to you as an undergrounding utility corridor. The hope for that is we know that we can't force Dominion to go underground utilizing the comp plan, but there is cases before the SEC where the comp plan was considered and it did get a line undergrounded in, give me a second and I'll say Haymarket, Virginia. That was in 2019. So this is something that is a legal option that we can also use. And so of course, undergrounding I think is our least favorite of the options, right? Stop would be the number one preferred option, move it away would be number 2, and then undergrounding, right, would help at least mitigate some of the effects on property values and health concerns. So the second myth that we often hear is if we fight off the data centers in Stafford, then we can stop the Kraken. Now, unfortunately, that's not true. The Kraken line includes no substations that can connect to Stafford County. So what that means is there's no way to take it from the giant super lines, right, the 500 kilovolt line, and transfer it down to the teeny tiny, I don't know how big a distribution line is, but it's not 500 kilovolts, right? There's no way to step that down so that it can come and power your house or power a data center here locally. So the Kraken does not power anything in Stafford County, and that's actually one of our legal arguments that I'll talk about with you in a few minutes. But yeah, nothing is going to be powered here in Stafford County. You can think of it as like an I-95 through the county of electricity. It's just going to pass through here. All we're going to do is get screwed. And also, another myth that we hear is that the Kraken is just one 500 kilovolt line. That is what Dominion came out and told us initially. We did some research and actually found that an engineer at Dominion slipped up during the first initial virtual meeting and admitted that the Kraken is actually a 500 kilovolt line and a 230 kilovolt line. When we were able to show them in their own transcripts that information was already part of the public record, Dominion finally admitted that when they did the big meeting at Colonial Forge, finally publicly, so that's been less than a month ago. Dominion has admitted that the Kraken will be 230 and 500 kilovolt lines. Now, what that means for segment 5, so the Rodney Thompson Middle School section of the line. Rodney Thompson already has 2 230 lines buried under it. When it gets a 230 and a 500 on top of that, Rodney Thompson will have over a megavolt of electricity passing over its fields and within 100 feet of the school bus parking lot. Now in segment 6, where there's no power lines built yet, they will definitely build more. Where there's no power lines built yet, that will be a 230 and a 500 kilovolt line. And so that's the part that we're talking about, Poplar Estates, my farm, Mountain View High School. All right, so this is the part I know you're excited about, right? This is an overhead view of Rodney Thompson Middle School. Let me explain to you what you're seeing here on the map. Now this is directly, by the way, from Dominion's website. This purple line right here, these dotted purple lines, are the 335-foot easement that's that Dominion owns, running east-west through the county. These solid purple lines right here are the existing undergrounded lines. Now, Towering Concerns, Dominion wanted to put them down here on the south side of the line back in 2010 or 2008. Towering Concerns successfully argued to move it to the center line so that they could maintain these tree buffers and protect property from the EMF and disruption. So those lines do pass through the center of the easement. This dotted brown line is the 120-foot corridor that Dominion will clear cut through the entirety of Stafford County. This solid brown line right here is exactly where the power poles will go, where the lines will go, where the monopoles will be. So you can see here at Rodney Thompson Middle School that these lines go directly over home plate. This, I'm presuming, is like the batting box and the seats. Right here, I understand, I was talking with somebody whose husband coaches over here. There's a track and field, like a shot put practice area that will be destroyed here, and then a practice field here. Now these lines right here are the walkways that are from Embry Mill. These all connect directly to Embry Mill. Oh, sorry, Amy Clay. So Amy Clay, that's so that Amy Clay children can walk to school. And so, of course, now that there will be a megavolt of electricity unshielded, right? All of these areas will be destroyed and taken down. So these lines pass over, let's see. Now, one other thing I need to mention that is causing problems here in the county is that the school board cannot locate the permission that Dominion gave them to build into this portion of the easement. Okay, did you catch that? So what happens is, I'll just quickly go over that. If Dominion has an easement into your property, you can request what's called an encroachment, which means that you need to build into the easement. You ask them for permission, they give you some permission, there are some restrictions, blah, blah, blah. They allow you to build into the easement. Stafford County Public Schools cannot find the permission, if there was ever permission, for them to build in this section of the easement. So that's causing legal problems. And so what's happening is Dominion is putting pressure on Stafford School Board, saying, look, don't fight us, and we will help you out with the fields, right? Maybe we'll give you a STEM program, like the data centers have promised, right? Maybe they're using this as leverage to try to pressure the school board into compliance with these power lines. Now this came up during the 2008 trial. This isn't new information, okay? This came up during the 2008 trial. And at that time, the FCC, even though it knew that there was maybe not permission, maybe this was an illegal encroachment by the school board into the easement, the FCC still directed Dominion to preserve the fields here at Rodney Thompson. It directed it to preserve the tot lot at Sheldon Woods. It directed them to preserve the fields at Austin Ridge as part of their agreement. And in fact, I sent this information to the school board just a couple of weeks ago. Dominion's official policy in their sworn testimony was that they wanted to preserve the field, that they agreed that they should preserve the fields at Rodney Thompson Middle School. And that's what Dominion stated during their testimony. So that's information that I gave to the school board to try to let them say, listen, they've already sworn that they're going to protect these fields, right? Use this in your fight when they're trying to pressure you, right? Push back using this information. Oh, and then what you're seeing right here, this is from the power line to the bus lot, right? Where they're the distance, right? Where they park at, that's 100 feet right there, 100 feet. And I think I'm being actually a little generous there with my 100 feet estimate. Now this is an overhead view of Mountain View High School. So Brent Elementary School is right up here. You see Mountain View High School right here. You can see the fields and the track. Okay, so again, we have the dotted purple line. Okay, that's the 335-foot easement. In this section of the line, this is segment 6. The dotted line is the 120-foot section that will be clear cut through this area. And then the solid green line is where the actual line will pass. So Mountain View High School is a particularly interesting portion of this route. And that's because I think some of you are familiar with the 1969 easement. Anybody not familiar with it? You want me to sum it up? Not familiar? Okay. So back in the ye old days, in 1969, Stafford County public schools were not accredited. What that meant is that if you graduated from school in Stafford County, you could not go out of state. Okay, the schools were so garbage. Okay, you couldn't go out of state. I know that because my family has been here for 200 years. My family were school teachers here. My family graduated here, and they could not attend school out of state because Stafford County schools were garbage. Okay, so in the early 1960s, VEPCO decided that they were going to build a nuclear power plant. And they said they were going to build it out in Arkandale on the east side of the county. They were going to bring hundreds of millions of dollars of investment here to Stafford County. Stafford County, in order to draw them in, build some roads, tried to make the property, developed so that it would draw in VEPCO. Long story short, it became apparent that they could not build a nuclear power plant in Arkandale because the heat coming off of those power plant diodes or whatever they stick in the water, right, to cool off stuff. Look, I'm a designer, okay, right? This is not my area of expertise. But that the heat was going to cause problems in the Chesapeake and kill critters in the Chesapeake. So instead, they moved that nuclear power plant to a place you've probably heard of, Lake Anna. So that nuclear power plant went to Lake Anna, so did all the investment, and Stafford County was left holding the bag. So Stafford County was in exactly the same situation where we are right now, where they had a budget shortfall because they put money out for an investment that never came, okay, and the schools were still in trouble, still unaccredited. So Dominion, back then VEPCO continued to string along the Board of Supervisors and lied to them and pretended that maybe they might build the power line here in the county after all. Well, there were 11 properties across this east-west portion of the county who refused to sell to Dominion. And because the VEPCO kept pretending that it was going to build this nuclear power plant, the county cooperated and let them seize those 11 properties through eminent domain. Okay, those eminent domain properties include Hampstead Estates, Park Farm, where Poplar Estates is. It includes it includes this whole lot that you're seeing right here. That's Mountain View High School. It includes a property to the west of Austin Ridge Park, and it includes part of Hampton Oaks subdivision. So those properties have a different easement than the rest of us. And that easement includes some interesting limitations, okay? Among other things, it says that the easement is intended to be particularly for the use of Stafford County. As I've explained to you, there's no power that's coming through Stafford County at all from the Kraken. Okay, another thing that it does is it has some really handy drawings and some verbiage that explains how high the poles can be that are built in those sections of the easement. It limits towers to 150 feet high, and it limits monopoles to 120 feet high. The Kraken has to be at least 170 feet high in order to be safe because it's carrying so much electricity. So that's a legal argument. Okay, it also contains some voltage limitations that are 750. It says you can't carry more than 750,000 volts through these easements. Okay, obviously a megavolt, okay, is a lot more than 750,000 kilovolts. So there are some legal arguments that are really compelling in Stafford County. So again, when you hear people saying, look, there's no hope here, like there's some genuine, like legitimate, okay, arguments that may be able to stop the Kraken And in particular, this piece at Mountain View High School is very interesting because this is part of that 1969 easement, so it means that the county's lawyers get to make that argument, right? That it won't have to be only the individual landowners. So I think that strengthens us as well. The other thing that's a little bit interesting about this too is, remember when I described to you about how encroachments work, that you have to contact Dominion and say, hey, yo, I think that I would like to build into this easement, you know, I have some property or whatever, and they have to give you permission. Well, in the case of Mountain View High School, they did do that. They did get permission from Dominion, and Dominion came back and said, yeah, we can do that. We will build, we'll let you build into the easement, and we'll engineer any future lines so that it does not interfere with the track. But if there's a future problem, then y'all are gonna have to pay to move the track. So one of the reasons that Dominion is trying to build on this side of the easement is because of that initial agreement that they made with Mountain View High School, and then secondarily, if they decide to come through later, they can squeeze a whole other line in here, which is what their plan has been all along, right? Is to build more and more lines through Stafford County. So again, Mountain View High School is a particularly interesting case. I'll go ahead and move forward so you can see the distance here from the edge of the field. Now remember, this is within the easement, okay? It's within the easement. From the edge of the track to the center of the power line is 132 feet. So it's very, very close to Mountain View High School. All right, now this is one you're probably not aware of. This is the future site, and I wrote Embry Mill because, you know, I had Embry Mill on the drawing, but this is Amy Clay, right? So this is the, no it is, it's Embry Mill, I'm not lying. So Embry Mill has a future school site on it. Anybody know that? So this is a future school site for future middle school. And you can see right here again, we've got the two undergrounded lines here. This is the center line of the proposed line coming through that school site. This is what the school site was planned to look like. Okay, the school would be located here. Fields would be located on the north side of the lot. And I'll just back up again. Let's see if it'll let me do that. Yeah. So you can see here how it would destroy the fields at our future school site. So again, we're talking about more damage to Stafford County schools where our kids are going to be losing their extracurriculars at middle school levels all over the county, and possibly track programs also at the high school level. All right, so the effects of the Kraken that we anticipate: loss of extracurriculars in public space, the field replacement cost. Okay, if we lose the baseball fields and the softball fields at Rodney Thompson Middle School and the shot put practice area, okay, we need to replace those extracurriculars for our students. That'll be on the backs of the taxpayers. That'll be all of us that get to pay for that. The same thing with the track, right? The next effect, we expect this school property to become unsafe when it has a megavolt of electricity passing through it. And just a few weeks ago, I don't know if you saw in the news, there was a kid who climbed up one of these high voltage lines and was electrocuted. One of these super high voltage lines and was electrocuted and killed at a county down south here in Virginia. So this is not the kind of thing that we need close to areas that are populated by children, or where middle schoolers are well known for their good decision making. Another issue which affects you here, primarily here at Augustine, is undesirable school zoning can lower your property value or prevent you from being able to sell, right? When everybody knows that Rodney Thompson Middle School has no extracurricular activities, no softball program for your kid that loves softball, then that makes it harder for you to sell. Same thing with Mountain View High School, when you know that you can't run track at Mountain View High School, right? Then that affects your property value or your ability to sell. And so for all of us in the county, as property values lower, then that equals higher taxes. And then on top of it, the further effect of it is that we're all going to pay for this in the form of higher power bills. So for the privilege of losing our schools and properties and paying higher taxes, on top of that, we'll get to pay higher electric bills to pay so that Loudoun and Prince William County can get high taxes, can get income from data centers. So yeah, y'all can help, okay? Here at Augustine, you can help. Our immediate need, Okay, we have an event coming up that we're really excited about in July. On July 18th, we're going to go over to the top lot at Shelton Woods and do a media stunt where we're going to fly some.
Is that actually Shelton Run?
Sorry, Shelton Run. Just kidding. I can't remember the name of the. I get all these mixed up, right? Okay, Shelton Run. There's Joanne who lives in Shelton Run. She's straightened me out. So on July 18th, we're going to have an event at Shelton Run where we fly some drones up 170 feet to demonstrate how tall these towers will be over the children's play area and get the media out there to get some attention. We're going to try to do this stunt in both in July and August at 2 different locations. So if you've got a drone, come on out and help us, right? Please let us know. Come fly your drone up, enjoy some snacks. We're going to have we have an individual who lives in Shelton's Run who is in charge of protecting all of the military people from EMF radiation on the Marine Corps base. He's going to come and talk about health concerns and what they do in the military to protect people. We're hoping we can get him as an expert to testify about how dishonest Dominion is being about the real effects of EMF radiation on individuals. So he's going to come and talk as well. So especially if you're involved with Rodney Thompson, where there's going to be a megavolt of electricity passing over the area where your children are, you're going to be really interested in what he has to say about EMF radiation. Okay, the next thing you can do is join our mailing. This is our best way of contacting you, is to join our mailing list at toweringconcerns.com. Email is by far our most reliable way of reaching people. We do have a Facebook account, but we can't ever guarantee that people are going to see Facebook. So email is really the best way to do that. So toweringconcerns.com, there's this handy dandy link right at the top. Join our mailing list. The next thing you can do is tell a friend, right? Just let people know about this. This is the most important thing, is that we're finding that some people still don't know what's happening. The next thing you can do is post a sign or decorate a car window. I know some of you, I don't know what the HOA rules are here, and are not allowed to post a sign in your yard, but I ride on my car, and you probably saw my car out there with the Towering Concerns and Save Our Schools, right? You might be able to decorate your car window and be able to show some support and get some word out about the Kraken. And then be willing to speak at public meetings. I know that Albert's going to talk about that a little bit more in depth. And then also, we're looking for connections to Congresspeople or Quantico. This is specifically relating to trying to get the line moved to Quantico. So if you have connections, we want you. We need to use your connections to try and connect with some of these people who can lean pressure on those decision makers and hopefully get the Kraken out of Stafford County.
Is it possible for us to email this presentation out to our owners?
Sure, that would be fine. Yeah. Do you want just the slides? Is what you're asking for? Yeah. Be happy to send that to you. And then again, I'll just remind you, Saturday, July 18th, the Shelton Woods, it's really Shelton Run, top lot, the drone stunt and EMF discussion. So you're all invited to come to that. We would love to have you there. I think in the interest of time, we'll pass time on to Tom and then Albert to do some speaking, and then we'll take questions at the end. Is that all right? Will you all be friends with me if we postpone questions? All right, this is Tom King. He is the head of our health committee, and he really does he's by far the best presenter in our group, so.
So I'm going to bump everybody's conference. She's a designer, I'm a musician, that should inspire. I knew nothing about this subject just a few months ago, but what I did have was a little bit of experience in looking up and reading peer-reviewed research because of a former job I had. So I volunteered to look at what it said. I heard, like everybody else has heard, these things are perfectly safe. The first time I heard that, I thought, no, I don't think so. I know that's what you're saying, and if you go out and type into the Google machine, it'll probably tell you. Remember, when you go into Google, you're getting an algorithm that's bought and paid for. Never forget that. You get good information on the Google machine, but if you really want to know what's going on, go to the scientist. They do research. There's not really great research on this, and I'm going to start, however. Well, there is great research on it. I should have said that. I'm going to start with what I usually finish with, because I think it makes everything make more sense. The great American Tobacco Company cigarette marketing. We remember from the 30s, Humphrey Bogart, it was very cool to smoke cigarettes, right? Everybody wanted to be Humphrey. It was very cool. So we all got sort of hooked on it. My dad was in World War II. He said he never got a cane ration, didn't have a pack of Camel filter sitting there. He came home, hooked on cigarettes. Thank God he came home, but he came home hooked on cigarettes, which he later got rid of. Then came TV, and the advertising was everywhere. Ronald Reagan, pitched cigarettes. Everybody pitched cigarettes. They've got fake doctors to pitch cigarettes, right? Which cigarettes do the doctors recommend? This filter, that menthol. These are smaller. They're okay. They're not going to hurt you. These probably weren't real doctors, because real doctors were saying, we've noticed in our practice that people who smoke cigarettes, this group over here, are sicker than these people over here that don't smoke cigarettes. We don't know why. We can't really say why, because nobody's studying it. Why weren't they studying it? Because the multi-gazillion dollar tobacco industry was pushing back on it, preventing things from happening for a long, long, long time. In the 60s, we really, because of epidemiology, that's a word I'm going to use again, because of epidemiology, people figured out it's real. People who smoke cigarettes are sicker. It's not just something we're imagining than the people who don't smoke. We still didn't know why. There were no biomarkers to say why. Slowly but surely over the years, it was studied, the biomarkers were isolated, until finally the Surgeon General could say, can I say something now? And then, yep, we know the epidemiology is there, and now we have the biology. So you can say wherever you want. So they did what? They put a label on your cigarette packs, saying, don't do this, this stuff will kill you. Up until then, they couldn't do it. I submit to you today, after looking at the research as far as I have, that we are in the 1950s and early 60s when it comes to EMF. We know they cause problems. We know they do. The epidemiology is quite clear. So when they say it's perfectly healthy, you say, well, not according to the epidemiologists. And they'll say, but there's no biomarker. There's nothing that connects the two things. And that's true for the most part. Epidemiology is getting really clear on one point, and that's childhood leukemia. Childhood leukemia happens around these lines, period. Now, no one knows why. They've looked, they've tried to find these things. And if you look, and I did, let's look at the biomarkers for childhood leukemia around the power lines. I found 2 research articles. Epidemiology, I found 482 that said it happens. There's all kinds of stuff going on around these lines. It happened to the point where the World Health Organization, and I forget the year now, 77 maybe? I forget what year it was. The World Health Organization said, there's so much stuff going on here, we got to warn the world that this is possibly a carcinogen, which they did, and they've not changed their mind. They still say that it's a possible carcinogen. And they encouraged researchers. Well, how come the researchers haven't found it yet? Well, I've been around a lot of human research in my former job, and I can tell you, it's expensive, it requires tons of dedication, it's time consuming, it's difficult because you're working with people, and you can run into all kinds of problems with it, and you lose money. There's no money to be made in it, so it hasn't happened yet. I think it's going to start happening. I do want to say one thing about some actual research that I did find about school kids. We've been talking about schools a lot. This one scares me a lot because they did find that, once again, epidemiological studies, kids that are exposed to those EMF waves for extended periods of time, and they don't study that in this country, but other countries have looked at it, and this is well done research, their attention is interfered with. Their visual motor is interfered with. Their visual output is interfered with. All kinds of stuff that you need in the classroom gets interfered with. Why? Children's brains are very malleable, and they're very susceptible to stuff that we wouldn't probably notice. But you bombard these little developing brains with this stuff, and it's not a good thing for school performance. Forget how the fields for a minute about how the fields are. Now, I'm going to leave the wires just for a minute. I know Albert needs to talk, and I'm going to give him plenty of time. I'm going to leave the wires just for a minute. Let's forget the wires. Forget the wires. Let's talk about the data centers. There's one data center in Loudoun County, which we learned about. It doesn't have any wires. It's self-contained. They're so proud of that. We don't need any of your power. You hear that? There's no television ad about these things. So how do they power it? Power plants on site. They have 8 or 9 gas-powered generators. And for backup, they have 51 diesel generators, which they don't fire up unless they need to. But when Winter Storm Fern happened, remember Winter Storm Fern? We all remember that. The Department of Energy asked those guys, can you fire up your diesel generators and put it out on the internet? Because we're kind of running short. Can we borrow some from you? Or buy some from you, whatever they do. So they fired them up. So they had the gas turbines and the diesel things running all at the same time. Let's just look at the gas turbines. VCU and others have studied what that does. And there's all kinds of nitric oxides and stuff that get pumped into the atmosphere. You don't have to relive any of the lines if you're breathing air. This stuff is going out all over the place. They studied a little thing called particulate matters, PM 2.5. They cause stroke, heart attack, respiratory illness, and my personal favorite, premature death. That's what they found happens when you're exposed to that. They're going to have, right now, Dominion has had a request for 70 gigawatts of power to get these future data centers up and running. 70. What does 70 gigawatts mean? Well, what's 1 gigawatt? 1 gigawatt is 1 billion watts. Well, how much is that? That's roughly the amount of power that you can get out of a nuclear power station. They're asking for 70. 1 gigawatt can power 750 to 800,000 homes. They're asking for 70. This is going to be dozens of these gas power generators all over the place, and backup generators or whatever else they need, and thousands of miles of these lines and substations and everything else they need to support this stuff. I'm telling you, we've lost our minds when it comes to this stuff. We really have. And I know a lot of people are pushing back on it, but we need a lot more than this to push back. Just let it go out and, I hate to sound like my hair's on fire, but my hair's on fire right now. Because I've just learned too much. And I don't know if you have any questions, you can ask me later, and Albert is going to come up because he's Albert's on the phone. Albert heard me do this a million times, so he didn't have to listen.
So I don't really have anything prepared. I'll be short and sweet and to the point. August 1st, Dominion plans on filing with the SCC. There's going to be a time limit for people to file to participate in the case. And when I say case, so Dominion files with the SEC. It's similar to a court case. That's kind of how I look at it. A very long, drawn-out court case. It can take years. They will either approve, modify, or reject. And of course, we want to go for a rejection. That'll bring Dominion to the table, and we could use that leverage. We need people that are willing to participate in the SEC case. So if you could just leave your information to one of our staff before you go today, that'd be very helpful. Thank you.
All right, that was great. Joanne, did you have anything you wanted to add? Or anything? Okay. All right, well, y'all, Tom, Albert, y'all want to come up here, and then we'll just see if anybody has any questions that y'all like to ask us.
Oh, they know where to find me. Stand up here, I'm not hiding.
Is there any questions, anybody? Go ahead, Rob.
Sorry, go ahead.
We'll just work
You're pointing
on
out the years-long process. What is, suppose this goes well for Dominion, what is the actual timeline for beginning to clear construction operable, if it goes well for them? Basically, worst case scenario for us.
From my understanding, they'll begin construction 2028 and complete by 2030.
That was the goal. So the initial plan was to start in 2027. We've already been able to choke them down by a few months, and so they're now off into 2027. I don't know, if things went real bad for us, then yeah, construction could start in 2027. Sorry.
I did ask you the question earlier, I just wanted to bring it up in front of everybody here. But can you tell us what Governor Spanberger has done to try to prevent this from happening or try to slow it down?
So this is not a particular area of my expertise, but I can talk a little bit about the Power to the People bill, and this may be something that Connie can help with a little bit. So just a few weeks ago, the federal government came out with a new proposed bill. Mark Warner, our senator, is one of the individuals who proposed this bill. And what it would do is require all the U.S. states to define a new billable group. And I've forgotten what it is now. I said it earlier. It was a rate.
Rate center.
Thank you. So to define data centers as a separate rate. Say it again.
It's either a rate center or a rate class.
Rate class, that was the word. Separate rate class, so that data centers could pay their fair share of what these costs are to our counties. And so something that Governor Spanberger can do is define or push legislation or sign legislation in Virginia that defines data centers as a separate rate class so that they can be charged more. Because right now, data centers are getting tax breaks, embarrassing tax breaks in Stafford County, for example. Our Board of Supervisors signed a deal, and Connie will make sure I say this correctly, with the Amazon data centers that allows them to dodge taxes for 20-something years here in our county. So yeah, we would like that sort of thing to stop, obviously, as citizens, right?
They're the only ones that got that deal.
Yeah, Amazon's the only one that got that here in this county. So
In the state.
Oh, in the state. Yeah, Stafford has gotten screwed on it, and it just seems like we're always getting it, right? Like, I don't know what's happening before Stafford, but yeah.
Charlie Brown in the football.
I know, man. It is terrible. But yeah, it's rough, and so that's something that Governor Spanberger can do. I do know that Governor Spanberger is being pressured very heavily. I know that Louise Lucas, who is the firebrand basically of Virginia, has been going around doing listening sessions. In fact, she was in Richmond just yesterday, I think, doing a listening session. I know she was up with Protect Culpeper and Protect Remington, doing speeches, trying to hear from citizens about what they want to have happen, specifically with regard to data centers. Now, Governor Spanberger's hands are tied a little bit when it comes to utilities, and part of that is because the utilities in this area are governed by an agency called PJM, which is, and I don't know what it stands for, but it's I think it's 9 different states here in the Northeast that have banded together to team up to build power. So PJM meets together and says, hey, this is the areas that we expect power to go, so we want to get power from North Carolina up to New Jersey. How can we build lines in between to get that power to New Jersey, right, from North Carolina? So say there's a catastrophic outage in New Jersey, that they can still get power up from North Carolina or something like that, so redundancy. So, yeah, so PJM is kind of the director of that. They're overseen by the federal government. So Governor Spanberger's hands are somewhat tied as when it comes to utility corridors.
Another question that follows up, I heard about the merge between Dominion and some other bigger electric company. How do you think that's going to affect?
Florida.
Is it Florida?
Yeah, it's next era. Yeah. So Albert maybe can talk about this, but we have some concerns about NextEra.
One of the judges worked for NextEra. There's 3 judges on the SEC panel, and one of the judges worked for NextEra. There was another, I keep calling it case, the wrong Sarah, but there was another power line case, and that judge actually sat out on the vote. As far as it affecting us, I can't imagine giving any more power to the utility companies is gonna help us.
Yeah, is this gonna make it better for us? No. Right, and we think that we have some suspicions. I've done some research. I haven't put it in the public yet, so I don't want to say too much about it, but but there's some indication that some of these filings that Dominion is doing is to make itself look better for that merger. And then maybe there's a chance that some of these could fall off. Do you know what I mean? Once the merger is complete, or once the federal government and state governments catch up to try to choke down some of this excessive growth. So yeah, we're uncertain there. Things are up in there. Yeah. I saw a question back here. Oh, I think I saw your hand up, jump, sir. You?
Yeah, originally. So why did Dominion start with Quantico? What's their objection to going to Quantico?
So one of their mandates is that they're supposed to travel through existing utility corridor, existing right-of-ways when they have them, and they already own this corridor. So that's their initial argument, is that they already have this right-of-way. If they go through Quantico, then they'll have to acquire a right-of-way through Quantico.
Is it more expensive for them to do that?
So we don't know. Okay, chances are, since it's government, they might do it for one of those $10. Do you know what I mean? Like if the feds come down, if the U.S. Senate comes down and says, listen, don't screw Stafford, right? Come through here, because literally, and when I say literally, okay, Quantico is connected on the west side, directly across the road from the substation where this Kraken line is supposed to end, and on Route 1, they're connected completely. The entirety of the route goes right across the south side of Quantico. We don't know. We have heard rumors that Quantico has been approached and said hell no. We also don't ever take the first no. So we'll keep pressing on that. Yeah.
Has anybody looked at why they would say no?
So the rumor was, again, I wasn't in the meeting, the rumor was that they were like, oh, we have bombing and stuff like that. Now I've done an overlay of the bombing routes and the bombing stuff. There's plenty of space, okay? There's no overlap, no relationship whatsoever. We're talking about 300 feet off the fence line. Do you know what I mean? We're not talking about coming through the center, messing up the JSOC or anything like that, right? We're talking about 300 feet off the fence line. Or even if we're talking about just the Kraken, 120 feet from the fence line, right? So yeah, I've done the overlay that's on our website. If you want to take a look at it, you can see the overlay and check it out. Connie, I saw you.
Yeah, I have a couple of different questions. I want to say thank you for coming, because I think it's really important for Augustine North to really hear this. My primary concern, having been one of them at the beginning, handing out flyers, going door to door over hundreds of lay people who had no idea about the first meeting back in December or so. I think Augustine North has a very critical location, given that our high school is switching from Colonial Forge to Mountain View, and given that our middle school is Rodney Thompson. I'm thinking it's probably pretty close to Winding Creek as well. So all three of our schools, for over 13 years, anybody who's here as a resident could have a child in a school within very close proximity of, in that segment 5, which you're talking of 1,190 megawatts, or isn't that?
That's right, yeah, over
So,
medical, yeah.
What do you see as the best way that Augustine North residents, number one, can first understand that this is an issue they need to pay attention to, that it does concern them? Number two, how can we as residents really play a pivotal point in where you're at right now as you plan and prepare for the SCC?
Thank you. Go ahead.
Once we have your contact information, we'll give you a form to fill out. Just ask for your basic information, your phone number, your testimony, how it's affecting you, and we will reach out to you when the time comes to prepare for the SCC file.
Yeah, so I think what he's saying is initially we need your information, right? Just provide some information. Just we don't, I don't want your social security number, your mother's maiden name or anything like that, right? But provide us some information so that we can notify you, right, when it's go time, that we can go. So I would say that's a primary thing. So secondarily, pass the word around, like talk to people about what's happening, spread the word, just put up a sign, talk to a friend, send an email to a friend, talk to your supervisor, talk to your governor, talk to your delegates, talk to those people and let them know how concerned we are about this. Now I think they're pretty aware, right, that we're pretty concerned. but make your voice heard, because your voice matters as well. So in terms of what's happening here in the county,
Can I just interrupt?
please.
You said contact information, so is there a link that we can go to now on our phones to give you our contact information?
Yes, so Albert has just go to the join the email list. Yeah, if you just go to toweringconcerns.com, right at the very top, right in the mobile version or in the desktop version, right at the top is the join the email list. And there's an opportunity there. You can even type in the notes and say, hey, I'm willing to be a speaker. Hey, I have a contact with, contact in Mark Warner's office, or any information that you have in that way, I will reach out to you and contact you. Because right now we're still in the information gathering stage, right? We're trying to organize things. One of the things we're doing is we're creating an evidence book. Albert was instrumental in creating that and starting to organize that. We're creating so that we have all the copies of all the easements of the properties that are being affected, so that we have all the history and documents for all this information that's relative to the schools, trying to make things easier so that when the legal fight comes, then we can assist everybody in those ways. So that's I think, that's maybe not the best answer, but that's kind of where we are. We're kind of in a marking time phase right now.
If I could just add that in Shelton Run, our HOA does share information that's provided by Towering Concerns with all of its residents. Also, I and some of our neighbors and friends from Towering Concerns have done door-to-door knocking with the flyers to make sure that people know what's going on and give them some ideas of things they can do and meetings that they can go to so that they can learn more and say more.
I did actually bring this sign. I didn't know what your rules were with your HOA, but I did actually bring this sign that I will give you if you would like to hang this up. I don't know if you have an appropriate place to hang this. I know that HOAs have rules, right? But save our schools, because I think that is what affects Augustine. So if this is something that I know. So that's why I said maybe the cars, right? You know,
We'd like to ask for forgiveness.
that's right. I'm lucky, like I said. I totally get it, and we don't want you to break any rules or start any fist fights or anything. So no, but yeah, I brought it just in case, in case there was a miracle. I know that Shelton Run has been able to put up some of our signage because of their HOA. So
we can put a signage during the election, like 30 days before, 30 days after. So I would want to check with our attorney and our covenants to see if we could do anything.
Because yeah, totally nonpartisan.
Right. No, I understand that, but like, if we get possible for people to make their voice heard during elections,
Of course.
I wouldn't see why we couldn't potentially, but I don't know, so.
Yeah,
We'll look into it.
There you go, thank you, that's wonderful. Yes, ma'am. Sorry, I think
How
Albert
do the schools that are going to be affected, how do they feel about this? I mean, have they spoken out? I mean, the teachers don't like to be exposed to all this stuff, so the children. I mean, and when they unite, they're pretty forceful.
So in the previous case, in 2008, the school board came out and made a declaration of opposition to the original lines. This has not, okay? This particular school board has not. They have they've responded to my emails. They've become more responsive over time. Dominion,
I think as the teachers become more aware of it, then they push on the school board.
They're purposely taking a neutral stance.
yeah, right now they're being,
Why aren't they do that, though, if it affects the new school?
It's all about.
So the word that I've got two different kind of words on that from different people. I don't know anyone personally on the school board, but I know school board adjacent people. And so part of it is because we know that Dominion is pressuring them on the issue that I told you with the possibly illegal encroachment at Rodney Thompson Middle School. If they're trying to keep things on the down low as they negotiate.
I worked at Rodney Thompson in 2008.
I'm sorry,
I worked at Rodney Thompson in 2008.
Yeah. So it's a completely different vibe. Yeah, it's a completely different vibe, and I'm not sure what's happening. The other thing that we're hearing is that this current school board is very worried about being attacked, that they're very sensitive to having people jump on them. And so they're just very concerned. Well, this is such a no-brainer, right? This is not like again, it's completely nonpartisan. You know what I mean? we have some towering concerns about what's happening at the school board. So, yeah, if you've got pressure points there, talk to people and let them know, listen, we need your voice here. And listen, we know that the school board is not in favor of this, right? They're not in favor of this. I think they're just concerned, and they don't want to do something that would cause them legal problems in the case.
Well, it would cause them legal problems if children started getting sick, or their teachers started saying they're sick, this is a sick building, I have headaches now.
I'm not gonna work there,
Yeah.
right? Yeah, I'm not gonna work
And the
there.
teachers are known to stand up for that kind of stuff.
Yes.
I reached out to a school board member about presenting what I found to school psychologists, because that was, and you just think my hair's on fire.
Yeah.
Think about being a school psychologist and getting 30 more kids every month to test because of their school performance falling off because of all these things, and they don't know why it's happening. Well, I can tell you why it's happening. Everybody's been forewarned. I mean, we just get ready, if it goes through, we'll just all get ready for our class action lawsuits. That's all I can tell you. Because everybody's been warned. We're out there as loud as we can. But when I put myself out there saying, I would really love to talk to school psychologists about this, because I'm sure that they would be interested in this, and I got a resounding chorus of crickets. That's all I can tell you.
Yeah. We haven't been able to even direct questions. I finally got a response from the principal at Roger Thompson Middle School, and I was like, hey man, tell us what we can do to support you to help you get the word out. No response. Did not respond again. So we're baffled.
They were told to stay in control.
Yeah, something's going on.
And I don't
We're
know,
baffled.
sometimes they be on the teachers' side.
You would think they would notify parents about this.
Yeah, that's a big thing. So, and we
I found them out.
Because they can
I
do
asked
that.
I had a personal conversation with one of the school board members one-on-one, and she just seemed afraid. I couldn't tell you why, but that's
Yeah, we're
what
uncertain.
the vibe I got. And then the other theory is they're just gonna wait until it's actually filed with the SEC, then they'll help. But I mean, we're gonna press them, one way or another.
Yeah.
What about
It's nice you're not
what about
getting the
the county
message
manager?
out to the
The
parents.
county?
Yeah, the county itself. I mean,
They've hired a lawyer.
County's been fantastic, I will
Yeah,
tell you.
the county has been
Amazing.
fantastic.
The county must have some type of leverage over the public schools. I mean,
So there's some beef there.
They're
And then
always
there's
fighting
some
with each other, the
problems
board of
with,
supervisors and the.
They're two separate.
Yeah, they're two
The board
separate
of
entities.
supervisors for the county and then the
No.
board of the school board, they're always battling
the
over.
county doesn't give the budget.
there's some beef.
All they do is supply the money, and then you have, the schools are completely independent.
Right.
Well, yeah.
The school people are probably told they're not to engage in anything.
Yeah, I just watched the budget.
That's why it's different.
If nobody's speaking
Not
up,
because they don't
if
believe
it's
it, but
quiet,
then
that's
at
their
the
fault.
point when they walk out of their office, now they're a citizen again.
Well,
That's where you get into the
Exactly.
gray area, because are you acting in the capacity of a principal, a school employee, or are you acting in the capacity of, I live in Stafford County and I'm a human being, I'm allowed to speak my mind.
Well, the school superintendent's property is adjacent to the. So that is something that matters, right? And then we also have, I think you're speaking the truth there. And I think that we'll see more positive, I hope that we'll see more positive steps from the school board after there's a SEC fine. Now listen, we would like to cock block them beforehand. Like, I would love to get this legal information out to Dominion, especially relative to our easements that are not gonna allow them to come through Stafford County, right? And just have them drop the case altogether before it's ever filed, right? They're not gonna, I don't think they're gonna be able to beat that easement argument. So just get out, don't, you know what I mean, don't stress us out. I'm going to send an email to the legal department, I'm gonna skip all this Dominion garbage, so sorry.
What about the teachers union?
So again, I don't know how to contact that. That's a good suggestion, but I don't need that. And listen, that is something that we need and maybe this is a great volunteer since you have some school contacts. We really, we had somebody who was over our school committee and that person had to drop off to help their HOA fight against the Kraken. So we really could use somebody to help lead our fight with the school board. I have lots and lots and lots of documentation. I've been writing lots of things, but I don't have personal connections with the school board.
It's nice to know we have our very own Aaron Brockovich here.
Yeah, I have been doing lots of research. It's horrific. Definitely study. Sorry.
Just a logistical question. You said you'll let everybody know when it's time to go.
Yes.
What does that mean? When they do the filing, do they issue a request for public comments?
Yes,
Is there,
not only.
how long does that?
So there's public comments and then there's also participation. So there's always a time limit. So they're gonna file. From what we've heard from Dominion, August 1st, they're gonna file. And then there will be a limited amount of time to fill out that participation form.
And what does that mean? You get to go to a public.
So that's
You
for the
can
legal
participate,
fight.
You can give your own testimony, you are part
So-
of that.
Yeah,
It's
that's
free to
that's
file.
gonna be the legal piece. Now, the public comments and all that, what will happen is any of us can file with Dominion and say, hey, we wanna have a public hearing on this here in Stafford County, which is what they did in 2008, anybody who was here before, right? In 2008, they came to Colonial Forge High School, did a public hearing. There over 800 people spoke. It went so long they had to call it for a second time to hear from the voices of Stafford County citizens who were concerned. And so that's the kind of energy that we would like to see here in Stafford County again. So that's what we're looking for. Now that would be, we're talking, that's a year from now, right? That's a year from now.
So come August 1st, they did filing, there's no
There-
couple month period to make your voice heard.
That's right.
Here.
That's
So,
right. That's right. That's right. That's right. And there will be opportunity, for continuing information to come through as things are filed. I mean, right now, Golden Mars is still up in the air. Even though the SEC has demanded that the school board come up with information, the school board is still stalling in the Golden Mars case up in Loudoun County, and they're facing similar situation with schools and power lines.
I just want to point out that we don't have to wait for the SEC filing to be involved, because we have the opportunity to learn more about what's going on and to go to meetings and make your voice heard and to get prepared for the big fight.
Yes, and that's one thing I'm trying to do when I send emails out, is I'm like, here's informational meetings, here's a critical meeting, right? This is the day to take off work, do you know what I mean? Like, this is the time. So, like the Stacey Carroll meeting that was over at Colonial Forge, like that was a critical meeting, right? So we try to make sure that we prioritize these so that we know that you all have times and lives and families, the same as we do, so. We try
How did
to
the word get out so much in 2008?
So
It
same
seems like a lot of people got involved in that very quickly.
So the guy who did that, Buddy Seaford, who was the president of Towering Concerns then, he did a study after that, his after event study to find out what was the most effective thing in getting people out. It was signage. That's how people found out about it, was signage. So that's why we keep saying signage.
Yeah.
We really would love to have some signage,
People
right?
don't
Please do
know,
some
or
signage.
A lot of people don't know, or some of the people that do know feel like, oh, it's inevitable,
That's right, oh,
yeah.
shucks,
I've heard that.
right.
Yeah.
So we are having to come out and talk to people, right? If you hear people, you spread the word. It's all gonna be word of mouth. And again, I think when you look back at the 2008 case, you don't realize that it was initially filed in 2006. They started talking about it in 2006. The filing was in 2008, and the final order came down in 2010. The lines began construction in the middle of 2010 and were completed by the end of 2011. So we're talking about a 5-year period there, right? But what the public kind of saw was things happening very, very quickly. And so that's gonna happen in this case as well. So we don't want to get people overexcited, right? When there's still some months in between here, right? But also please be aware, right? Be alert. Connie.
The one thing I would also add, anything that we can do to delay or somehow make the process go longer, as one, I've been part of Protect Stafford, we've been focused on the county level, this with the state. And so the issue is that a lot of this is focused on the data center technologies, and that it requires electricity, it requires power. It may not be serving data centers within this county, but it is going up to Loudoun County or other places. That's what it's about. And that whole technology is evolving quickly. Google has it planned to go up into space. That's one of the things that they're focusing on for 2030. All of these are, like the small nuclear reactor, all of those different developments. So to the extent it is extremely important to show the interest and really come out against Dominion, because Dominion has this attitude that it's a done deal. They own the easements. That's what they've said in the multiple meetings that we've had, the last one at Colonial Forge. They just automatically, we've owned it since 1969, and they just think that's the end of the conversation.
Yeah.
So I think it's extremely important for us to basically not take them as being this power. We have to show our own credibility, our own agency, and deal with any threads or arguments to pull any evidence, research. But the most important is getting the sense of people being against it, because it's a public relations disaster for them.
That's right.
If they look as if they're taking over a county.
That's right. When you talk about 5 schools, okay, 5 schools in Stafford County, right, 865 homes, it's unprecedented. With a mega multiple agency, it's unprecedented. And
What
so,
would empower all the data centers that are being built or supposedly being built in Stafford County, if these lines aren't for those, what's gonna empower those data centers?
so I've talked with Aaron Architect staff, and listen, Dominion could come back, and then once the power lines are there, and build substation, right? Now that's trickier. They have to get different zoning, and the easements have to allow for substations. For example, the easement on my property prohibits substations from being built on it. So there are things that they have to do in order to make a substation happen. But listen,
They're building those data centers pretty quick.
they're doing stuff, right?
If you take a look at a lot of the data center proposals, they happen to be very close to the proposed.
That's right.
I'm sorry, you had a question back there?
I did. So a lot of this has to do with this decision that Dominion has made revolves a lot of economics, because it's the least expensive option. It was high voltage power by overhead lines, right?
That's right.
So what's the research say? What's the additional cost, or what's the additional cost factor of putting that same power underground? So that's my first question. And the second question is then, what does the research say about the reduction in the electromagnetic field if the line is underground?
Yes, sorry, go ahead.
So, I'll answer your second question first. The ground is the best insulator. So absolutely EMF, I don't remember the specific numbers, but it's, it's gonna spread very slowly and very short.
Well, and the cable is different, because now
That's right.
it's got price, or it has some sort of wrapping in it to try to prevent, seepage and being corroded as opposed to exposed wire in the tap.
Undergrounding, I pray for that, but looking at previous SEC filings, Golden Mars, they tried to go underground. They ultimately, I don't know if that's the reason why they lost, but they lost. Dominion, they're very firm on they will not go underground. They've said it multiple times.
So there's a couple reasons here. This is actually an area of expertise for me, right? So I'll tell you what the cost difference was I'll tell you what Dominion says the cost difference was, and then I'll tell you what the real cost difference is, okay? So in 2008, Dominion made its initial proposal here through Stafford County. It was gonna cost $14 million to overground the power lines. When they came back, the quote that they gave the SEC was $83 million, okay, which was approved by the county, by the SEC. Now, so when Dominion makes that comparison, they're like, oh look, it was 6 times the cost to underground as to overground. Okay, so I've spent the last 2 weeks digging very deep into this information. And the final cost, by the way, of the project was $137 million for the project. Now, here's what really happened. Okay, because now y'all about to hear my information that I haven't made public yet. Okay, so what really happened is Dominion, as I said, quoted for the single 230 kilovolt line at $14 million. What they got in Stafford County was 2 undergrounded 230 kilovolt lines and conduit for a third. So what we have over there, okay, is we have an empty tube for a third 230 kilovolt line. We have 2 230 kilovolts lines that are buried there in Stafford County. And so when Dominion makes that comparison, they compare 1 overground line to 3 undergrounded lines, okay? They don't fairly compare the cost of 1 overgrounded line to one undergrounded line, which would have been $45 million, was their estimate. Now there's some more tricky stuff that goes on there, okay? So when Dominion came to SEC, they told them they expected it to cost, it was either $83.2 or $82.3 million.
Okay, 84 days later, they went to the federal government and told them it was gonna cost $120 million. And the reason they did that is because they took that $120 million number and spread it over the entirety of their rate base, including North Carolina, Virginia, other parts of Virginia, and charged them $120 million for a line that they said was going to cost $84 million here in Stafford. They were later sued for that. The overage that they ended up charging as part of our line and several other underground lines here in Virginia was over $1 billion. That court case was finally settled in 2021, and Dominion was directed to repay part of the money that they had overcharged. They only had to pay back about $300 million. And so currently, if you're on Dominion Power, you're receiving a $6 credit on your account for that overage that Dominion screwed people on with the billing, okay? And that is gonna end shortly. And so then Dominion has got some other things up their sleeve that they're gonna try to do to overcharge on pricing. Now, the pricing that they quoted at Golden Mars, they told them it would cost them $500 million to overground the entirety of the line, and that would cost $1.5 billion to overground. Now, that's triple.
Underground.
Yeah, to underground, sorry, to underground, so triple. That's in line with what we see in the cases that are filed in the 6th annual report on pilot undergrounding by the General Assembly. Now, one of the problems with the General Assembly stuff is that information that I just gave you, where Dominion was playing squirrely with what it reported to the state here in Stafford County. They've been using the Stafford County lines, by the way, as an example of a failed route, why they can't underground anywhere else, okay? So, which is a problem for us, right? But I can show that it's all false. So anyway, the accounting is all in that document, and that's the document that the General Assembly has been using and that Dominion has been relying on to prevent undergrounding. So the research that I've been doing over the last couple of weeks has shown, for example, Dominion claims that undergrounding took 50 months, that they expected it to take 36 months, but it actually took 50 months. Okay, that's false. Those of you who are living here know that the underground lines went in very, very fast. Okay, so I went and tried to research that. Like, how did that happen? How come we think it happened so fast, and Dominion's saying it took more than 4 years? Well, here's what happened. Okay, in the original SEC case, Dominion did come to the SEC and ask for 36 months to complete the lines. Dominion gave them 32 months to complete the lines. At the 24-month mark, Dominion had the entirety of construction done. Okay, that third line is buried. Both of the conduits were set for the third line, and Dominion came to them and said, "Hey, we need to extend. We're not going to be able to finish in the 32-month mark. Can we extend this till June 2012?" And I've been able to show with FERC filings and stuff that they were done by the end of 2011, which would put them at exactly 36 months to completion time. So in fact, here in Stafford County, that line was completed on time. Okay, it was completed at the budget that they quoted to the federal government. Okay, and part of that I think is because they were trying to put the actual amount that they expected to pay, right, and put that over the ratepayer base, but lowball it here in Virginia so that they could come back in Virginia and say, "Oh no, how terrible, it's been lowballed, now we can't underground, and also we need more money from you," right? You've got to give us an opportunity to overcharge ratepayers in Virginia for this undergrounded bill. So it was all very sketch, okay? So yeah, the cost of undergrounding is tricky, right? And it's very, very different according to terrain, different situations and whatever. And of course they keep, I've been hiking over in the Mine Road area. Mine Road is one of the areas they said was particularly difficult because of all the rock and stuff in Mine Road area. And y'all, it is very rocky right there. So some of that may be true, but again, Dominion engineers completed all that within 24 months. So, yeah. So what they're saying is not exactly true. And so when they give comparisons on the price, they're not comparing apples to apples, right? So yeah, the project that they got here in Stafford is dramatically expanded and better than what they quoted that $14 million for.
Do Spotsy people have the same views if all the lines coming through Spotsy on the way out?
So Spotsy is, Spotsy has a little piece of the lines. Now, the north-south parts of the Kraken are pretty much through corridors that already have high high voltage transmission lines. And so in many cases, all they're doing is pulling down an old transmission line, like a 230, and switching it to a 500. So there's less impact on the people going north and south. You know what I mean? Those power lines have been well-known corridors for many, many years. In Stafford County, our corridors are not established, right? This is new, especially in segment 6, where there's been no power line ever built, right? We're in a different situation there. So I get very, very excited about the money thing, because I've just spent two weeks researching it. Segment 6 goes from, okay, so the substation is across the road from Mountain View High School, and it goes across Mountain View High School, across Hunter's Pond, across Seven Lakes, across Poplar Estates, across my farm, across, yeah, it goes west, and it ends just west of Harwood Road, and then turns north. So, what it does is it connects to that existing very wide utility road. There's two, if you can imagine, there's a highway going north and a highway going north, one on the west side of Stafford County, one on the east side of Stafford County, and this is a ladder, right? Segments 5 and 6, the part that's so impactful. We're one of the rungs.
But they could do that from Quantum.
Yes, we believe so.
You got a question, Ben?
So you mentioned that 2 of the 3 lines were filled back in the day. So the empty line, is it possible to use that for underground at this point?
So that line does connect to the substation, okay? So that's one of the things that's interesting here, okay? So the Stafford, the line that's there goes from that vertical trunk that I was just describing out to the substation and back. So it's 2 lines that go here, and that's all there is for Garrison. This just makes a little U and a bump, right? Okay, that conduit goes into the substation. Listen, I guess they could dig it up and make a tube to go around it. The current plan for the Kraken is for it to come and then skip the substation and go around it, because they have zero intention of delivering any of that power to Stafford County at this time. Gotcha. Okay, so currently it goes around it. So yeah, could they put the 230 through there? Maybe, but then that still leaves segment 6. What are they going to do? Right? Are they going to overground it, or are they going to underground it? Right. But yeah, the 3rd line is for anticipated growth here in Stafford County.
I don't know, I was speaking to a buddy of mine at work, and he said that there's some work being done off of Route 1 that seems to be part of it. Are they already starting work?
No work has been done on the Kraken yet.
Okay.
All the work that you're seeing down on Route 1, and he's probably talking about, there's some, and I forgot what the name of that line is. Yeah, but that's all related to the power line, to the data center that's going out there on Eskimo Hill Road.
It's not part of this.
No, not part of the Kraken. The Kraken is in addition to all this.
Okay.
Yeah. But it's gonna look as nightmarish as what that is. So if you haven't been out to Eskimo Hill Road to see what horrors it is, okay, that's what we're talking about. Any other questions? We've been aggressively informational today. One more.
So, is part of the calculus also from an economics perspective is, well, first of all, is the SEC, is that a Public Utilities Commission? What does SEC stand for?
It's the state corporate commission.
SCC.
Yes.
Charter, got it.
Yeah, SCC, sorry, which is,
Yes, I've heard from you.
Yeah, okay, so there you go. So now you go.
But from that, they're a public utility. Their rate structure is controlled, right? So are they given limitations as to how
You're asking the great
they
questions.
can recoup their investment costs?
Okay,
Because
so-
in the end, we're all gonna pay.
That's right. Okay, so
Nothing
here's
is
how it
done for
works.
free.
So I just had to learn all this 2 weeks ago, so now you're all gonna be subjected to it too. Okay, so as a public utility, right, their profit margin is defined, okay? And as a public utility, they're actually publicly traded. So they have stockholders and shareholders. So in 2008, remember my whole drama about how they made up the prices and all that stuff, and we're gonna tax send the rates all over the universe for it. So the way it works is if you are, and this is actually with FERC, FERC, the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission, okay? They approach FERC and say, hey y'all, we've done this really great project in Stafford County that's very expensive and very innovative, and so please give us a cookie. And FERC goes, here's your cookie. You can charge extra to everybody in your rate paying base to encourage you to do more projects like what you did in Stafford County. So what happens, okay, that's how they make their profit. So that's the energy calculus. So they can do a project like this, they can overcharge for it, right? They can say they get a cookie for it, they can charge extra money to all of their ratepayers for it, and then make more money for their shareholders. So that's the motivation, right? That's the financial motivation for this wheeling and dealing.
But that didn't answer my question.
Oh, sorry, what's your specific
How
question?
quickly they can recover their capital costs?
So that's a question I don't know the answer to. So when they, I don't know how long they spread that out, right? Yeah, I don't know how they spread that out. That's a good question. They quoted several different ways of doing it. They were like, if for example, in case of our undergrounding project, they said if they build only the Stafford County people, it would cost $5 more on their power bill. If they build only the people in Virginia, it would cost 90 cents more. If they charged everybody rate wide, it would cost 10 cents more on their power bill. So but I don't know how long that recovers, and then I can tell you they don't drop the rate after they recover that money, right? They're not going to drop it.
Because there always could be investment.
That's a really good question. We're gonna look into that for you too.
Yeah, that's a good question. Yeah, that's a good question. How long does it take to
What's the
recover?
recovery period? Is it
Yeah.
capped by law? Is it capped by commission? Because that might be something that, I mean, as I said before, everybody who buys electricity is gonna pay for it. Some more than others,
That's
depending
right.
upon location. So they're really not losing. They're not gonna go into the red.
That's right.
They're
That's
gonna
right.
always be in the
So the motivation is always the shareholder motive, right? The stockholder's motivation.
I want to read just something that I should have said earlier. I wrote a 17-page paper on this stuff, if anybody wants to read it. But this, talking about money, I forgot to say this before. I'm just going to read from my thing here. This is a quote from a meta-analysis that somebody did, because I started noticing something strange about the money flow in the research after about a day of doing it. Somebody looked into that on the meta-research, and what they found was, by examining subsequent reports on childhood leukemia, just that one area, it's clear that almost all government or independent studies find a statistically significant association between magnetic power field exposure and childhood leukemia, while almost all industry-supported research fail to find any significance at all. I know you're shocked about that. Has been a lot. However, always remember, it depends on where the money's coming from. For underground stuff, you're going to get all kinds of stories. None of them are true. None of them. So anyway, I just want to leave you with that.
Yeah, we're trying to be skeptical, trying to give information out, but ultimately, our big concern in Stafford County is motivating the population to just get people informed about what's happening. You can form your own decisions and make your own judgments, and maybe the money part is going to interest you, maybe the health piece is going to interest you, maybe the tax situation is going to interest you, maybe the property value is going to be the thing that interests you the most. And so we're trying to get as much information as we can out so that people can make informed decisions. And I hope that this has been informative. Sorry, we've had a good time. This has been really fun. Y'all been great. Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much. And please, again, go to the website. Sign up for our speaking list. He is our speaking collector guy, so. Yes, so do it.
If you don't mind, on your phone, if you would go to towerandconcerns.com, right on your left-hand side, it'll say join the mailing list. If you fill that out within the next 24 hours, we'll notice you and we'll reach out to you.
Yeah. And it has a spot for you to put your neighborhood, you know what I mean? So flag with your neighborhood will know that you're Augustine, and any information that affects Augustine.
Can you send out, if we do that, can you send out a presentation?
I will, yes, or I'll send it to, HOA, or pass it to
I
Ralph.
also have a video that I can probably forward it to you.
That's great.
See if
If you
you,
can post that see if they'll post it on Facebook.
I can do that too.
You
I
can
can do
send
it
it
on
to me as well.
Facebook,
I
too.
think that's worth
But I don't know if it's gonna be too big
Yeah.
to share it on Facebook,
Yeah.
but I'll try.
Yeah.
Well, if you want, you can pass it, we can put it on our YouTube page. You can upload it to our YouTube, and then you can post the link.
That would be great,
That'll
and
save
then you
you.
can share the link.
Yeah, that'll
I
work.
can do that.
Yeah, do that.